The stars looked the same as they always had from the bridge of the patrol ship Defender. Captain Eric Mason stared at them through the main viewport, sipping his lukewarm coffee. 20 years in space had taught him that the universe rarely surprised you. Today would prove him wrong. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," said Lieutenant Olivia Wright from her communication station. "It's not using any Earth frequencies." Mason walked over to her station. "Could be space. Junk giving off signals. Wouldn't be the first time." "No, sir, this is organized data, not random emissions, and it's coming from—" She frowned at her screen. "Sir, it's coming from a vessel approaching from beyond Jupiter's orbit, moving very fast." Within minutes, the entire bridge crew watched as the object appeared on their long-range scanners. It was massive, at least 10 times larger than their own ship. "All stations, yellow alert," Mason ordered, his voice calm despite the hammering in his chest. "Lieutenant Wright, keep trying those frequencies. Everyone else, stand by." The strange ship slowed as it approached, and then Wright's console lit up. "Captain, they're sending us images. I think they're trying to communicate." For the next 12 hours, Wright worked tirelessly to establish basic communication with the alien vessel. When she finally succeeded, the news traveled quickly. Within a day, governments around Earth knew humanity was not alone. The alien ship identified itself as a diplomatic vessel from the Galactic Council, a coalition of 37 spacefaring species. They requested a formal meeting with Earth's leaders. 7 days later, Mason found himself in an ornate United Nations conference room, sitting beside the Secretary General as Earth's accidental ambassador. The aliens had specifically requested his presence since he made first contact. "The Council welcomes Earth to the galactic community," said the tall, blue-skinned being who called himself Ambassador Greel. His words came through a small translation device. "We have observed your world for centuries, waiting for the appropriate technological development before making contact." The room buzzed with excitement, centuries of wondering if we were alone. And now the answer stood before them. "We extend the hand of friendship," the Secretary General replied. Ambassador Greel's face made what might have been a smile. "Friendship, yes. And guidance. All species require guidance when joining the Council." That was when the mood began to shift. Over the next several hours, the aliens outlined what they called integration protocols. Earth would receive technological assistance, protection, and trade opportunities. In exchange, humanity would accept certain restrictions. "Population control measures must be implemented," Greel explained. "Resources must be allocated according to Council quotas. Certain technological developments must proceed along approved paths." Mason felt his jaw tighten. "You're asking us to limit our growth, to let you decide our future?" A different alien, Admiral Zakhthar, stepped forward. His reptilian features showed no emotion. "All species sacrifice some autonomy for stability," he said. "This is not negotiable. You will accept membership under these terms, or we will establish a quarantine field around your solar system. No ships in or out, no communications, complete isolation." The human delegates erupted in angry discussion. Mason caught Wright's eye across the room. Her expression mirrored his concern. "We need time to consider," the Secretary General finally said. "You have 3 Earth days." Admiral Zakhthar replied. For 3 days, world leaders debated furiously. Scientists examined the limited technology samples the Council had provided. Military leaders assessed Earth's chances in a conflict. Dr. Alan Foster, head of the Global Physics Initiative, gave his report to the Emergency Council. "Their technology is centuries beyond ours," he said, frustration evident in his voice. "But, from what I can tell, they're not showing us everything. They're carefully selecting what we see." In the end, fear won out over pride. Earth's leaders, faced with isolation or controlled integration, chose the latter. They signed the Council's agreement under protest. Mason was ordered to attend as Earth's military representative. As the documents were being prepared, Mason spoke privately with Ambassador Greel. "Why these restrictions? If you truly wanted us as equals..." "Equals." Greel seemed genuinely surprised. "Captain Mason, you misunderstand. New species are not equals. They must earn their place over centuries of loyal service. Some never advance beyond their initial status. That's not partnership. That's subjugation, Mason said quietly. It is order, Greel replied. Your species advances quickly and shows concerning aggressive tendencies. These measures are for your benefit as much as ours. The signing ceremony proceeded without further incident. Within days, council ships took up positions in Earth orbit, establishing monitoring stations to ensure compliance with the new arrangements. Mason was promoted to admiral and given command of Earth's defense fleet, now limited in size and capability by council decree. His first assignment was to oversee the integration of council technology into Earth's defensive systems. They're watching everything we do, Wright told him as they walked through the new Joint Earth Council Command Center. Now a full commander, she headed the communications division. Every transmission, every power signature, everything. I noticed, Mason replied quietly. Have you seen the education directives they've sent? They're rewriting history books to emphasize cooperation over innovation. That evening, Mason met with Dr. Foster in a small restaurant far from any council monitoring devices. They sat at a corner table, speaking in hushed tones. They've assigned me 3 assistants in my lab, Foster said. They monitor everything I do, but I've been examining the technology they provided. There are inconsistencies in their explanations, gaps in the science they're sharing. You think they're holding back the important parts? Mason asked. I know they are. What they call approved paths are actually deliberate dead ends. They don't want us developing anything they haven't authorized. Mason stared into his glass. So what do we do? Foster leaned forward. I've set up a hidden lab facility in the mountains, off the grid. We need to understand their technology on our own terms, not theirs. That's dangerous, Alan. If they catch you, more dangerous to let them control our future, Foster replied firmly. I need access to their navigation data. Can you help? Mason was silent for a long moment. Everything in his military training told him to follow orders, to accept the new reality. But something deeper, something essentially human, rebelled at the thought of surrender. I'll see what I can do, he finally said. But we need to be smart about this. We need to build a network, people we can trust. This won't be quick or easy. Freedom never is, Foster replied. As Mason left the restaurant, he looked up at the night sky. Among the familiar stars, new lights moved in precise patterns, council ships on patrol, watching, waiting. The first seeds of resistance had been planted. Humanity might have accepted chains, but they were already looking for the keys. 3 years passed under council rule. The initial excitement of alien contact had faded into a dull reality of restrictions and oversight. Earth had changed. Council monitoring stations hovered over major cities. Alien representatives walked the streets, their strange forms now a common sight. Lisa Reeves tapped her security badge against the scanner and entered the Toronto Resource Distribution Center. As a senior engineer, she supervised the integration of council technology into Earth's power grid. The aliens had delivered on some of their promises. Energy was cleaner and more efficient, but Lisa had begun to notice patterns that troubled her. Morning, Keith, she said to her assistant as she entered their shared office. Morning, he replied without looking up from his screens. Council's requesting another audit of the northwestern grid section. Lisa frowned. 3rd time this month. What are they looking for? Keith shrugged. Above my pay grade. Lisa sat at her terminal and began reviewing the resource allocation data that had come in overnight. Something caught her eye. Discrepancies in the materials being sent to Earth compared to what other newly integrated worlds received. She had access to this data only because of her security clearance and her skill at navigating the Council's complex information systems. She copied the files to her private drive and continued her work, mind racing. This wasn't the first inconsistency she'd found. Later that day, Lisa attended the quarterly progress meeting with Council Representative Gal Mock, a tall insectoid being who oversaw North American integration. Human officials sat on one side of the conference table, Council representatives on the other. Earth's compliance has been satisfactory, Galmok said, his translator conveying his clicking speech. However, energy use in several regions exceeds allocated amounts. The regional governor shifted uncomfortably. People need heat. It's been an unusually cold winter. Adjust your population centers accordingly, Galmok replied. The quotas exist for galactic stability. Lisa cleared her throat. Representative Galmok, I've been reviewing the allocation tables. It seems Earth receives significantly fewer resources than other worlds at our integration level. May I ask why? The room fell silent. Humans didn't usually question council decisions so directly. Galmok's compound eyes fixed on her. Engineer Reeves, humans are classified as a potentially destabilizing species due to your aggressive tendencies and unusually rapid advancement rates. Additional restrictions are deemed necessary. Deemed necessary by whom? Lisa pressed. This meeting is concluded, Galmok said, rising from his seat. Engineer Reeves, report to oversight for review of your assignment. As the room emptied, the regional governor grabbed Lisa's arm. Are you trying to get reassigned? Nobody questions them like that. Someone should, Lisa replied. Meanwhile, deep in the Appalachian Mountains, Dr. Alan Foster worked in a hidden laboratory built inside an abandoned mine. Council sensors couldn't penetrate the dense rock, especially with the jamming technology they'd developed. Daniel Mason, Admiral Mason's son and now a physicist in his own right, analyzed data on a holographic display. The Council's FTL drive doesn't work the way they told us, he said. They claim it bends space using exotic matter, but these energy signatures suggest quantum entanglement is the key component. Foster nodded. They're feeding us scientific dead ends while keeping the real advances to themselves. But why? Asked Samantha Winters, another scientist on their small team. Why share technology at all if they want to keep us down? Control, Foster replied. Give us enough to make us dependent, but not enough to make us equal. Daniel manipulated the hologram, expanding one section. I think we could develop our own version, one that works on different principles. They wouldn't be able to detect it or stop it. That would change everything, Foster said quietly. We'd need materials they strictly control. My father might be able to help with that, Daniel suggested. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent signal from their perimeter sensors. Someone's coming, Samantha said, checking the monitors. Multiple vehicles. Foster quickly shut down their systems. Everyone remember your cover story. We're geological surveyors, nothing more. Up in the main facility that hid the entrance to their secret lab, they greeted a council inspection team led by Inspector Zor, a severe-looking being with pale skin and no visible ears. We detected unusual energy signatures from this region, Zor said. Explain your presence. Foster smiled pleasantly. We're conducting a geological survey. The mineral deposits in these mountains create natural electromagnetic anomalies. Zor consulted his handheld device. Your permits indicate 3 personnel, yet we detected 5 distinct heat signatures. Foster's smile never wavered. My colleagues in the second trailer. Would you like to meet them? Before Zor could answer, a council security officer emerged from the hidden lab entrance dragging a young technician. Found him trying to erase data, sir. Zor's colorless eyes narrowed. Search everything. As council forces swarmed the facility, Daniel slipped out through an emergency exit, carrying a data core containing their research. The others weren't as fortunate. Foster and 3 researchers were taken into custody, along with all visible equipment. These materials are not authorized, Zor said, examining their prototype quantum communicator. You will undergo remedial education. That evening, Admiral Eric Mason received Daniel at a safe house outside Norfolk Naval Base. They took everyone, Daniel said, his voice shaking. Foster, Winters, Rodriguez, all of them. Mason's face remained impassive, though his hands clenched. The data? Daniel patted his jacket. Got it all. We were close, Dad. Really close to a breakthrough. A soft knock at the door interrupted them. Mason checked the security feed, then opened it to admit Lisa Reeves. I heard about the raid, she said without preamble. And I've been reassigned to basic power management for asking questions. What questions? Mason asked. Lisa pulled out her tablet and showed them the allocation discrepancies she'd discovered. The Council is systematically keeping Earth at a technological disadvantage. It's not just us, they've done it to at least 3 other species they considered aggressive. Those species never advanced beyond their initial status, even after centuries. Mason studied the data. They're creating a permanent underclass. They're making us dependent, Lisa said, and they're hiding their real technology from us. Mason looked at his son, then at Lisa. We need to expand our operation. Foster called it Project Prometheus. We need cells in every major city, every council, facility. That's dangerous, Lisa warned. More dangerous to let them decide our future, Mason replied, echoing Foster's words from years ago. They took our people today. They're taking our future every day. It's time to take it back. Daniel placed the data core on the table. With this research and the right resources, we can build our own FTL drive. One they can't control. Mason nodded slowly. Then that's what we'll do. Lisa, can you help us get materials? I still have contacts in distribution. It would be risky, but... She straightened her shoulders. Yes. Then let's get started, Mason said. The Council believes they can control us. We'll show them what true freedom means. 6 months passed since the Mountain Lab raid. Project Prometheus had grown despite Council efforts to tighten control. Cells operated in every major city on Earth, on the Mars colony, and even among the miners on Europa. Each group worked independently, knowing only their immediate contacts. Admiral Mason sat in his office at Earth Defense Headquarters. Council integration had at least allowed humans to maintain a small defensive fleet, though under strict oversight. Every ship had Council advisors aboard. His secure terminal chimed with a message using the encryption algorithm only Prometheus members knew. It was from Lisa Reeves. Material secured. Delivery in progress. Watchdog suspicious. Mason deleted the message immediately. Lisa had been redirecting small amounts of exotic materials from Council shipments for months. The quantum components needed for their prototype drive were nearly complete. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Enter, he called. Council Ambassador Tika Lara stepped into his office. Unlike many Council representatives, the slender, pale alien had shown genuine interest in human culture. Some even considered her sympathetic to Earth. Admiral Mason, she said in her musical voice. May we speak privately? Mason gestured to a chair. Of course, Ambassador. Tika Lara glanced at the door, then leaned forward. I must warn you. The monitoring systems have detected anomalies in resource allocation. There will be increased surveillance. Mason kept his expression neutral. I appreciate the information. May I ask why you're telling me this? Tika Lara's eyes, large and silvery, studied him. Not all Council members believe in the current integration methods. Some of us feel the restrictions on developing species are excessive. Before Mason could respond, his communication panel buzzed. Admiral, Council Inspector Zor requests your presence at Monitoring Station 7. Tell him I'll be there shortly, Mason replied, then turned back to Tika Lara. Thank you for the warning, Ambassador. She rose gracefully. I did not come here. Today, Admiral. We never had this conversation. After she left, Mason sent a coded alert to all Prometheus cells. Caution was needed now more than ever. At the Council's primary communications hub in what was once Seattle, Karen Phillips worked. Her regular shift monitoring data flows between Earth and Council space. The young programmer had been recruited to Prometheus 3 months earlier by Lisa Reeves. Karen's official job was maintaining the automated systems that analyzed communication patterns for signs of unauthorized technology or resistance. Her unofficial job was ensuring those systems didn't detect Prometheus activities. Today she was implementing her newest creation, a blind spot algorithm that created small shifting areas of non-surveillance throughout Council monitoring systems. Phillips, what are you doing? Her supervisor, a human collaborator named Vance, peered over her shoulder. Routine maintenance, she answered smoothly. The pattern recognition subroutines need recalibration. Vance grunted and moved on. Karen continued her work, adding a few, obvious but harmless anomalies for the system to find, hiding her real changes beneath them. Her terminal pinged with Mason's coded alert. She worked faster. Meanwhile, in the rebuilt lab deep beneath an abandoned farm in Kansas, Daniel Mason prepared for their most daring operation yet. Their prototype drive was nearly complete, but they needed navigational data that only existed on Council ships and stations. "The orbital monitoring station above Rio has the star charts we need," he told his team of 6. "We can't hack it remotely. They keep those systems isolated." "So we do it the hard way," said Rick Coleman, a former Special Forces operative now, working with Prometheus. Daniel nodded. "We need a small team to infiltrate during the maintenance cycle. Get in, download the data, get out." "Security will be tight," warned Tanya Miller, their security specialist. "That's why we'll use this." Daniel held up a small device. "Karen's newest creation. It creates a temporary blind spot in their surveillance systems. We'll have 7 minutes at most." The infiltration was planned for 3 days later. Daniel would lead the team himself, against Mason's wishes. The Admiral had wanted someone else to go, but Daniel insisted he was the only one who could identify the exact data they needed. On the night of the mission, a small shuttle carried Daniel and 3 team members to the orbital station, disguised as a routine maintenance crew. Karen's algorithm gave them a clean approach. "Remember, 7 minutes once we're inside," Daniel reminded them as they docked. "Not a second longer." Security was minimal as they entered through the maintenance bay. Using forged credentials, they moved through the station until they reached the navigation center. "Cover me," Daniel told the others as he connected his device to the main console. The star charts began downloading. "Hurry!" Rick urged, watching the time. 4 minutes left. Daniel's fingers flew over the controls. "Almost there. This is taking longer than expected." An alarm suddenly blared. "We've been made!" Tanya hissed. The download completed. Daniel grabbed the device. "Run!" They sprinted back toward their shuttle, security forces in pursuit. Rick was hit by a stun blast, but Tanya and another team member dragged him along. They reached the shuttle and launched, barely escaping pursuing Council vessels. "Mission accomplished," Daniel said grimly as they raced back to Earth. "But they know someone got in." The Council response was swift and harsh. Within hours, martial law was declared across Earth. Council warships entered orbit, and additional troops landed in major cities. Admiral Zakhthar himself arrived to oversee the crackdown. "All humans are confined to their dwelling and work areas," his announcement stated. "Unauthorized movement will be met with detention. Any information about rebel activities will be rewarded." Mason received the transmission in his office, Council guards now stationed outside his door. His status as Admiral no longer protected him from suspicion. That evening, the Prometheus leadership met in secret beneath an old church in Boston. The signal jammers hummed softly as they assessed their situation. "The Council is scared," Lisa said. "They wouldn't respond this strongly if they weren't. Or they're trying to crush us before we achieve anything," Karen countered. Mason studied the faces around him. Lisa, Karen, and representatives from Mars, Europa, and key Earth cells. Some wanted immediate action, others urged caution. "We're not ready for open rebellion," he said finally. "But we can't wait much longer either. The Council is increasing restrictions every day." Daniel pushed forward the data storage device. "We have what we need now. Foster's design plus these star charts. We can build a working drive." "And then what?" asked the Europa representative. Mason stood. "Then we show the Council, and the galaxy, that humans won't be controlled. We demonstrate that we've developed technology they tried to keep from us." "They'll try to destroy us," Lisa warned. "Maybe," Mason agreed. "Or maybe we'll inspire others. The Council rules through fear and control, but there must be other species who resent their restrictions as much as we do." The vote was unanimous. They would accelerate their plans, complete the drive, and build a ship capable of demonstrating human ingenuity and determination. The Council believes they understand us, Mason told them as the meeting concluded. They think they know what we're capable of. It's time to show them how wrong they are. As the Prometheus leaders dispersed into the night, Council patrol ships soared overhead, searchlights cutting through the darkness. The chains were tightening, but soon they would break. Council forces moved through the streets of every major city on Earth. They arrested anyone suspected of resistance activities. Hundreds disappeared into detention centers. Among them was Lisa Reeves, taken during a raid on her apartment. In a body, Council interrogation room aboard their flagship in Earth orbit, Lisa sat calmly despite her fear. Her captors had questioned her for hours. "We know you diverted resources," said Inspector Zor, his pale face showing no emotion. "Tell us where they went, and your punishment will be less severe." Lisa met his colorless eyes. "I don't know what you're talking about. The human mind cannot withstand our methods forever," Zor warned. "Others have already confessed." Lisa wondered if that was true or just a tactic. She had been trained for this by Prometheus. Every resistance member knew to stay silent for at least 72 hours, giving others time to relocate and adapt. "I'm just an engineer," she said. "I follow Council regulations." Zor made a gesture and the guards took her back to her cell. Meanwhile, Admiral Mason faced his own problems. Stripped of his command and under house arrest, he was watched constantly by Council guards. But they hadn't found his hidden communication device, carefully built by Karen to evade detection. Mason received word that Lisa and at least 30 other Prometheus members had been captured. This changed everything. They had to move faster than planned. He sent a message to Daniel. "Execute Freedom Protocol." In the underground facility beneath the Kansas farm, Daniel read his father's message. The prototype ship they had built in Bindiadindatin secret was ready but barely tested. Named Freedom, it was small but incorporated their human-designed FTL drive and weapons systems based on Council technology they had reverse-engineered. "It's time," Daniel told his team. "We're launching. Tonight," Karen's voice came through the secure line. "I can create a global communications blackout for about 20 minutes. It will mask your launch signature." "What about the prisoners?" asked Rick Coleman, who had recovered from the stun blast during their station infiltration. "Commander Wright is handling that," Daniel replied. Olivia Wright, now Mason's wife, had maintained her position in Earth's communication division despite Council suspicion. She had secretly assembled a rescue team of former Special Forces soldiers, still loyal to Earth rather than the Council. During the blackout, they would board the Council flagship and free the prisoners while Daniel launched the Freedom to demonstrate human technological independence. At exactly midnight, Karen Phillips executed her most complex program yet. Throughout Earth and orbital space, Council communication systems failed simultaneously. Emergency backups activated, only to fail as well. For the first time in 3 years, the watchful eyes of the Council went blind. Beneath the Kansas farm, massive doors slid open in what appeared to be an ordinary field. The Freedom rose on silent engines, its sleek form unlike anything humans had officially built. Daniel sat in the captain's chair, surrounded by his volunteer crew. "Systems online," reported Tanya Miller at the engineering station. "Drive is stable." "Take us up," Daniel ordered. "Steady as she goes." The ship accelerated into the night sky, invisible to conventional sensors. Simultaneously, Commander Wright's team launched from a hidden facility near the Atlantic coast. Their shuttle, disguised as a Council maintenance vessel, approached the flagship using stolen access codes. "We have 20 minutes until systems are restored," Wright reminded her team. "Move fast, stay together." They boarded through a maintenance airlock, then split into 3 teams. Wright led the main group toward the detention block. Using Karen's EI security algorithms, they bypassed locked doors and avoided patrols. When they encountered Council guards, they used stun weapons, avoiding lethal force that would trigger emergency protocols. Wright reached the detention level and found Lisa in the 3rd cell they checked. "About time," Lisa said with a weak smile. She had a bruised face but could walk. "Where are the others?" Wright asked as she freed her. "2 levels down, high security cells." Wright sent half her team with Lisa to free the others while she continued searching the upper detention level for more prisoners. In space, the Freedom reached low orbit, then Daniel gave the command they had worked toward for years. Engage FTL drive. Council doctrine said FTL travel within a solar system was impossible and dangerous. Their protocols required ships to clear the system's gravity well before jumping. But the human-designed drive worked on different principles. The Freedom vanished in a flash of blue light, reappearing instantly near Mars. Then it jumped again, appearing near Jupiter's moons before returning to Earth orbit, all within seconds. Every functioning sensor in Earth space registered the impossible jumps. The Council flagship's emergency systems recorded everything, even during the communications blackout. Admiral Zakathar watched in disbelief as the unknown ship performed maneuvers that violated Council physics. "What is that vessel?" he demanded. No one could answer him. On the flagship's detention level, Wright's team had freed most of the prisoners and was heading back to their shuttle when Council security forces finally responded. In the narrow corridor, a firefight erupted. "Get them to the shuttle," Wright ordered Lisa, who now led the weakened prisoners. "I'll hold them off." Wright took position at the corridor junction, providing covering fire as the others retreated. A Council energy weapon struck her in the shoulder, spinning her around. Despite the pain, she continued firing until the last prisoner was clear. As she tried to follow, a second blast hit her in the leg. She fell, unable to continue. Council guards surrounded her. The rescue shuttle detached from the flagship with most of the prisoners aboard, racing back to Earth as communication systems began to restore. In orbit, the Freedom reappeared near the flagship. Daniel opened a channel that broadcast not just to the Council ships, but to every receiver on Earth. "People of Earth, this is Daniel Mason aboard the Freedom. Today we demonstrate that humanity will not be controlled. The Council has hidden technology from us, restricted our development, and treated us as lesser beings. But we have created what they said was impossible." The Freedom executed another FTL jump, appearing on the other side of the flagship in an impossible maneuver. This ship was built in secret by humans. Its drive operates on principles the Council claimed couldn't work. They lied to keep us dependent and obedient. Council ships moved to surround the Freedom, weapons charged. "You have violated Council law." Admiral Zakhthar's voice came through the channel. "Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Daniel ignored him, continuing his broadcast. "The Council rules through deception and fear. They've done this to other species before us, but we refuse their chains." On Earth, millions watched the confrontation through any screen they could find. Karen had made sure Daniel's message reached everyone. Admiral Mason, still under house arrest, watched proudly as his son showed the Council and humanity what freedom truly meant. The Council armada surrounded the Freedom, hundreds of weapons locked on the small human vessel. "This is your final warning," Zikathar announced. "Surrender or be destroyed." Daniel looked at his crew. They nodded their agreement. "We will not surrender," he replied. "And you cannot destroy what you cannot catch." The Freedom engaged its drive, once more, vanishing in a blue flash. But not before launching small devices toward Earth that would continue broadcasting their message and technical specifications. The seed of rebellion had grown into open defiance. Humanity had shown not just the Council but themselves that true freedom could not be contained. The Freedom emerged from its jump near Zenthra, the ancient homeworld of the founding Council species. The blue-green planet loomed large on their view screen, surrounded by defensive platforms and hundreds of ships. "They haven't detected us yet," Tanya reported from her station. "Our approach is masked by the third moon, just as planned." Daniel nodded. The human-designed FTL drive gave them one crucial advantage. Council sensors couldn't detect their energy signature. To the Council, they had simply disappeared from Earth and hadn't registered anywhere else. "Begin transmission," Daniel ordered. Dr. Alan Foster, rescued during Commander Wright's operation, activated their communication system. The aged scientist had endured months of Council remedial education, but remained unbroken. Now he would deliver the message they had traveled so far to send. Broadcasting on all council frequencies, Foster confirmed, then began to speak. Throughout the Zenthra system, on every council ship and station, on the planet itself, screens switched to show Foster's weathered face. I am Dr. Alan Foster of Earth. For 3 years, the Council has restricted human development, claiming it was for our benefit and galactic stability. We have discovered this is a lie. Foster's voice remained steady as he continued. We have analyzed Council records and historical data. The founding species have systematically suppressed technological advancement in dozens of aggressive species, creating permanent second-class civilizations dependent on Council authority. He displayed charts and data stolen from Council archives, showing how certain species were kept from advancing beyond their initial integration level through carefully controlled technological sharing that led nowhere. This is not stability. It is domination, Foster declared. And humanity rejects it. On Zenthra, the High Council convened an emergency session. 7 representatives of the founding species gathered in their ancient chamber, faces showing various degrees of alarm. How did they reach our system undetected? Demanded Councillor Vrek. And how did they access these records? Admiral Zakthar, who had immediately traveled from Earth via official FTL channels, stood rigidly before them. They have developed their own FTL technology based on principles different from ours, and they infiltrated our information systems. Impossible, Councillor Mabtal scoffed. No developing species could— They did, Zakthar cut in. I witnessed it myself. As they argued, Foster's broadcast continued, reaching not just Zenthra, but relaying to every Council world and member species. Back on Earth, Admiral Mason had escaped house arrest during the confusion following Daniel's departure. With Lisa Reeves and other freed Prometheus members, he established a new headquarters in an abandoned mining facility under the Pacific Ocean. The Council fleet is in disarray, Lisa reported, monitoring communications through Karen's algorithms. Half of them are heading to Zenthra, the rest are maintaining the blockade around Earth. But some ships aren't following orders. Mason raised an eyebrow. Explain. Several vessels from younger Council species are breaking formation. Some are even preventing older Council ships from firing on human settlements. This was unexpected but welcome news. The broadcast is having an effect, Mason said. Not just on humans, but on other Council members. Karen entered the room, looking exhausted but triumphant. Sir, you need to see this. She activated a large screen showing Council ships in Earth orbit. Several were turning their weapons not on Earth but on other Council vessels. That's an Ardalan cruiser, Mason noted with surprise. And those smaller ships are Ventari design. Both species joined the Council in the last century. They're protecting us, Lisa whispered. At the Zenthra High Council chamber, the debate had turned heated when the chamber doors burst open. Ambassador Takalara entered, followed by representatives from a dozen younger Council species. This Council session will include all members, she announced firmly. This is irregular, protested Councillor Rek. Only founding species may attend emergency sessions. That rule ends today, Tikalara replied, her usually gentle voice hard with determination. The humans have exposed the truth you have hidden. For millennia, we were not brought into the Council as equals but as servants. On the Freedom, Daniel received an unexpected communication. Captain Mason, this is Ambassador Takalara. Do not flee. Representatives of 17 Council species stand with you against the old order. We request your presence at the Council chamber. Daniel exchanged glances with his crew. It could be a trap, but it could also be the opportunity they had hoped for. We accept, he replied. With an escort of ships from sympathetic species, the Freedom landed at the Council spaceport. Daniel, Foster, and 2 crew members were brought to the ancient Council chamber, where the fate of 1,000 worlds had been decided for millennia. Inside, they found chaos. The chamber was packed with representatives from dozens of species, many loudly challenging the 7 founding councillors who sat on their elevated platform. Admiral Zekathar moved to block Daniel's path. You have violated every council law. You will be held accountable. Step aside, Admiral, Tikalara ordered. They are here under my protection and that of 17 member worlds. Zekathar hesitated, then grudgingly moved aside. Daniel and Foster approached the council platform. Foster carried a data tablet containing their evidence. Counselors, Foster addressed them. For 3,000 years, you have controlled the development of every species that joined your galactic council. You have hidden knowledge, suppressed innovation, and created an empire built on deception rather than cooperation. He presented his evidence methodically, displaying record after record of deliberate technological suppression. The chamber grew, quieter as he continued, many representatives seeing the proof for the first time. This cannot continue, Daniel said when Foster finished. Not for humans, not for any species. True stability comes from freedom and cooperation, not control and fear. Counselor Mabtal rose from his seat. You cannot possibly understand the dangers of unrestricted technological development. Before the Council, species destroyed themselves, and others. We prevented countless wars. By making yourselves the masters, Daniel countered. There is another way. Back on Earth, Mason received word that the Council fleet was withdrawing from orbit. Some ships remained, but they belonged to species who had declared support for Earth. Then news arrived from Zenthra that stunned everyone. After hours of debate, the High Council had dissolved itself. A new galactic assembly would be formed with equal representation from all member species. Technology restrictions would be lifted. Each world would develop according to its own path, while sharing knowledge openly. 2 weeks later, Mason stood in a hospital room where Olivia Wright was recovering from her injuries during the rescue mission. Her leg was healing, supported by advanced medical technology freely shared by formerly restricted Council species. Did you hear? Mason asked her. The Freedom is returning tomorrow. Daniel is bringing representatives from 20 species who want to learn about our FTL drive. Olivia smiled. And we'll learn from them too. Real exchange, not controlled handouts. Mason took her hand. We didn't just win our freedom, Olivia. We showed the galaxy what true freedom means. Outside the window, ships from a dozen worlds moved, peacefully through Earth's skies, not as conquerors or controllers, but as equals. Humanity had broken their chains and, in doing so, had helped free countless others who had been bound for far longer. The Galactic Council had believed they could control humanity. Instead, humans had transformed the galaxy,